So Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar insists she's not a multi-millionaire, and she's now offering an explanation, in air quotes there, about why her financial disclosures say she and her husband have a net worth of $30 million.
Breaking news, everybody. Ilhan Omar is not a millionaire. She just forgot. It was a accounting error, a 3,500% increase in net worth. It just slipped through the cracks. It was like I lost my keys, I lost my cell phone. I never once lost $30 million. We're going to talk about Ilhan Omar and her husband's nonsense right now. Let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about her financial disclosure story, and this one is par for the course because after her filing shows that she had a 3,500% jump in her net worth, her team came back and said this was all a mistake. $30 million, it was just an error.
A spokesperson saying this, quote, "The amended disclosure confirms what we've all said all along. The Congresswoman is not a millionaire."
Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, aides said that Omar looked at the form before it was filed in 2025, but that the error did not jump off the page for her because she isn't involved with her husband's businesses. Okay, wow.
We're going to walk through exactly what the documents show and what the explanation actually requires you to believe. And then we're going to talk about this interview she did on the Breakfast Club, not related, where the fraud question came up. And you're going to listen to how fast she just deflects. She's a politician. That's what they do. And real quick, if you are new here, we do this type of stuff every single video. You try to follow the money with no nonsense. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, all those good things. Appreciate all your support. Now let's continue. Now, if you've been with me for the last couple of months, you already know what's going on. But Ilhan Omar filed this financial disclosure back in May of 2024, listing her and her husband, Tim Mynette's assets between $6 and $30 million. The 2023 disclosure was $40,000 to $95,000. 1 year on paper, a massive increase in net worth. The report attributes the bulk of that increase to the two businesses tied to Tim Mynette, his venture capital firm, Rose Lake Capital, and his winery. Now, these are the real businesses with their real findings, generating real numbers that an accountant put into this form. But don't worry, we're going to come back to that in a second. After this disclosure triggered calls from the president for a fraud investigation and scrutiny across Capitol Hill, Omar's team came back with an amended filing. New number $18,000 to $95,000.
So Representative Ilhan Omar now insisting the initial numbers in the disclosure filed last May were completely off base, which was an accounting that showed her net worth of up to $30 million. But now an amended filing shows shared assets with her husband of up to just $95,000. A spokesperson saying this, quote, "The amended disclosure confirms what we've all said all along. The Congresswoman is not a millionaire."
That's the official statement. Congresswoman is not a millionaire. Now, let's take a look at what the documents actually say about how we got here. Her aides told Wall Street Journal Omar reviewed the form before it was filed. So let me translate that. She looked at the federal disclosure form showing a potential net worth of $30 million after reporting under $100,000 a year before, and did not think to ask a single question about it. That is the official explanation. She is a congresswoman. She is representing hundreds of thousands of people. And she looked at this form and didn't ask any questions. Who believes that? When you are dealing with disclosure to forms, doing tax filings, are we just signing things and just putting in whatever number we want? Who really believes this explanation? Let's be exact and precise about what the accounting error defense actually requires. First, an accountant made an error so crazy, so catastrophic, it overstated the couple's net worth by tens of millions of dollars. Number two, Omar reviewed the form and noticed nothing. Number three, nobody on her staff caught it either. Number four, the error was only identified after the filing became public and a bunch of people wanted to talk about it, and a federal investigation was floated. 5, the correct number filed under pressure is the accurate one and requires no further scrutiny. Sure. That's a lot of dominoes falling in a very convenient direction for Omar and her husband.
So 6 to 30 million to under 100,000. How in the world does that happen?
That's the right question. And the answer we've been given is the accountants. Throw the accountants under the bus. You know, those people who spend their entire lives doing this type of work. Usually accountants are very meticulous about how they set things up and they check things over and over again. But we're going to say that she has terrible accountants. I mean, I guess that's the story that she wants to give to us. And here's the question that hasn't been answered yet. What about the actual source documents from the Rose Lake Capital and the winery that we've done videos on this where these are not real businesses, but let's say they are, right? What do their financials look like? What revenue did they report? What were the assets the accountant was working on from when they produced these numbers in the millions? Because an error like this, of this magnitude, means either the accountant was working from documents that showed massive valuations, or the accountant fabricated the numbers from nothing. Which one is it? Because both of those questions require a follow-up. None of this makes any sense, and the scammers give you the worst possible defense for their behavior. Who is the accountant firm that allowed this to happen? She should probably report them, or at least say, this is who dealt with my stuff and they made all these numbers up. Or more likely, Tim Minette made up those numbers because he already has an issue or a history of fraudulent behavior from him and his former business partner. We have had videos about that as well. So no one believes this. And I think more should be investigated to see exactly what's going on with Omar and her financial disclosure forms because, like I said, no one believes this person at all. But now that story doesn't live in isolation because right around the same period, probably a couple of days ago, Omar sat down with the Breakfast Club and the Minnesota fraud question came up directly. And this is a very left-leaning area, softball questions for the most part. So she wasn't like pressed down. I mean, the Breakfast Club isn't about politics. It's about the rap, hip hop culture, that type of thing. But I want to show exactly how she handled it because this technique is worth documenting. So Charlemagne brings up the Feeding Our Future fraud, talking about, the $250 million that was stolen from the federal child nutrition program in Minnesota. 77 people indicted. Multiple plea deals are already being entered. I mean, it's still a massive scandal. So watch Ilhan Omar's move when that question came out.
What about the fraud case in Minnesota with the feeding?
Which is,
future?
again, I think that is the reason they are trying to create this thing is because they think this supposed 30 million or what did the president say, 44 million is because of the fraud in Minnesota.
Notice what happened there. The host barely gets the question out before Omar steps in and try to finish the sentence herself.
They think like I've somehow gotten something, which is insane.
She didn't wait for the frame. She built her own before the question even landed. Then she acknowledged the numbers.
I think it's now 230 million that has been...
Yes, well, 250 is what they say.
Yeah.
Misuse funds meant for child nutrition.
Yeah, 230 to 250. There's been about 77 or so that have been indicted.
Great. She actually acknowledged it, but watch the pivot.
That makes it. They got to make it hard for you, right? Just in general, not because you got anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But when he can point and say, well, this actually happened.
I mean, it doesn't make it hard for me, but it does make it hard for the average Somali business owner.
There you go.
It makes it hard for the average immigrant business owner. It makes it hard for the average Black business owner because it does create this cloud of suspicion.
I mean, this was massively done. One sentence, the subject was changed. We're no longer talking about Ilhan Omar's closeness or proximity to the fraud network. Now we're talking about harassment of immigrant communities. I mean, that's impressive. And Charlemagne and the rest of the crew accepted the frame completely. No follow-up on the Rose Lake Capitol, no follow-up on her husband, no questions about Tim Haler, Minette's business partner with his documented fraud history, no questions about how the business attached to that original $6 to $30 million disclosure exists in the same financial ecosystem as the organizations tied to the fraud network. She walked in with a story that needed answering. She walked out having reframed the entire thing as a civil rights issue, and nobody in the room pushes back. That's what you call a professional politician. So here's where we are. A federal disclosure shows a massive increase in net worth tied to her husband's businesses. The explanation that this is just an accounting error only caught after a federal investigation was floated. The amended filing drops the number down to under 6 figures. And even when she's going around to softball interviews, she's redirecting every fraud question towards community harassment without being challenged once. The source documents behind the original numbers still have not been produced. Rose Lake Capitol and winery that he has still, there's still not enough scrutiny in the way that I think this story requires from mainstream media types, but it is what it is. I guess Omar is a protected person at this point, but she's not going to run away. But we will continue to follow her and her nonsense with her husband, all the shenanigans. We're not going to let up. We're going to keep the pressure on. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.